we've all had time to breathe. Everyone who wanted to has most likely seen both Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps. So with Superman coming out digitally, I think it's probably already out. I think it was the 15th. Well, by the time this video comes out, it's probably already out. We might as well talk about the two biggest superhero movies of the summer. Now, I'm not here to debate box office numbers. Superman will most likely end its run with a much better tally than Fantastic Four, which we can sit here and argue all day about reasons why. Should Marvel have pushed back the release of Fantastic Four? Is Superman just simply a bigger draw? At this point, we shouldn't really care. We should be discussing what made both movies so great. So in this video, I'm just going to discuss both movies, let you know which one I preferred, and I'll probably give a score for both as well, because why not? Before we get started though, I would definitely encourage everyone to watch both of these movies, not just for spoiler reasons. I'll try and keep a lot of the spoilers to a minimum, but I will be discussing stuff here and there. I just think Marvel and DC are going down the right path with both of these entries, and think we should show them that. So yeah, I recommend watching both movies. First of all, let's just kick it off with Superman, since that came out first. And I will just admit that I am a big fan of darker superhero movies. I'm even a fan of Man of Steel, I know, but believe it or not. But James Gunn just gets it. He knows how to make a good comic book movie. Was it perfect? No. Was it ever going to be? Definitely not. We need to stop expecting superhero movies to be masterpieces. As a big comic book fan, it's very rare for me to pick up any comic and think, wow, this is the greatest thing I'll ever read, or this was a masterpiece. Let's just be honest with ourselves, they're not a lot of the times, and they're not supposed to be. I read comics for fun stories and, journeys with my favourite heroes, and if I'm being honest, I love the intriguing narratives and everything that comes with it. That's why I love comics. But this was Superman for me. David Corenswet was arguably the best Superman we've ever had. And at the very least, it was the best acted Superman, and that's not to put anyone else to shame. I just think his acting in this movie was phenomenal. Same goes for Nicholas Hoult, who was amazing as Lex, and is just a professional Superman hater, and I love it. The movie was very entertaining, very vibrant, a bit different to what we've come to expect from DC movies so far. The jokes actually hit in this movie for me. I have had problems in the past with some of James Gunn's humour, such as Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm not a huge fan of that movie because of the humour, but I think he really does kill it with this one. It's just so good. The cast of characters was just phenomenal. Mr. Terrific made a lot of fans with this movie, and Krypto was a hilarious addition. I love that. It was just a fantastic overall start, and just a great entry for hopefully what is to become an excellent universe set to be sculpted by James Gunn and the team at DC Studios. Now, my only real problems with the movie come from things that may be developed in the future a bit more, if any of my theories are to come true, that is. And that is namely the handling of Ultraman. I was not a big fan of the mindless clone characterization we got, but I think that's a thread that will probably be picked up in the future. I can definitely see them doing stuff with that, so I'm not too worried. I also felt that the movie needed more, and maybe that's just me being greedy. I thought an extra 30 minutes would have gone a long way for this. I wanted more Clark, Jimmy and Lois interactions, maybe a bit more of the Daily Planet as a whole. I just think that we didn't get to spend enough time with that group of characters for me to really care all that much. But that's a relatively minor thing, so not really gonna mark the movie down for, wanting more. We'll get more in the future. Now, so I don't talk too much about the future of this universe, if you want to hear more about that, check out my latest video where I discuss the comics I believe each upcoming DC movie should adapt. However, this movie, Superman, was a very, very, very solid start and deserving of, I'd say, a 4 out of 5 star rating. Wasn't really sure on what scale I'd pick for this, but let's just stick with the star rating and go with a 4. Let's move straight on to Fantastic Four: First Steps, and let's just say it's the best Fantastic Four movie. Outright, it's maybe the best characterization of each character that we've seen, even if I am partial to the early 2000s movie cast. Pedro Pascal portrays the personality of Reed Richards to near perfection, in my opinion. Vanessa Kirby was excellent as Sue, even if I wish we got to see a bit more of her and Reed's relationship pre-Franklin. As much as I love Chris Evans in the originals, Joseph Quinn is the best Human Torch we're probably ever going to get. That's just me being honest. He was really like the perfect blend of goofy and lovable, and really showcased the willingness of Johnny to sacrifice himself for his family. That's every quality I'd want from my Johnny Storm, so I'm happy. I can't believe I'm saying this, but The Thing was probably my least favourite of the 4 in the movie. Ebon Moss-Bachrach was, great. He tonally fits The Thing, and I absolutely loved the character design. I can't wait to see more. My only issue is that I failed to really care about his side story all that much. I'm a big fan of his relationship with Alicia Masters in the comics, so it being missed out entirely here felt like, just a missed opportunity. I don't know how else to explain it. I didn't feel the same way. I didn't have the same sense of care for the new character, Rachel. I mean, it was serviceable. I didn't care all that much. Now let's talk about the structure of the movie itself. I heard a lot about the third act being weak. I disagree. I do think it is the weakest of the 3 main acts of the movie, but the second act was just so incredible that it just overshadows anything else that comes after, if I'm being honest. That second act is what I want from a Fantastic Four story. They really excel when they're just out on wacky adventures a lot of the time, so I can't complain there. Julia Garner as Charlotte Ball was fantastic. I think she nailed the role, even if her portrayal of Galactus could have used a bit more time. It just I'm not going to say it came out of nowhere, but I was not as satisfied with it as I wanted to be. I do love, however, how involved Johnny was in the execution of the betrayal, so I can't complain too much there. There is really no competition about who the superior Galactus is, though. Ralph he just kills it, and I hope we see him return at some point in the future. I think we will. He was great. My biggest overall criticism with this movie was the lack of any real connection to the greater MCU. I get it, the movie should be able to stand on its own, and it does, but it's an important part of building this next phase, and all we really got was a 1-minute end credit scene, which was cool, by the way, but it was just, I was expecting more. Now we essentially have to spend a chunk of the next Avengers movie explaining how they get to the main MCU, and I just feel like that's a waste, or it's going to be rushed. Like, it's one of the 2 options, really. But I won't drag the movie for that. There's more of an issue there with the wider MCU as a whole. I do have one major criticism, though, and that is, why does Mr. Fantastic just not use his powers at all? He barely uses it throughout the movie. I think we see every scene he uses it in the trailers themselves, so they were just very underutilized, and I was kind of just left disappointed that they didn't showcase them as much. Overall, how would I rate this movie? I believe it is a solid 4 stars, just like Superman, maybe slightly below, but I'm just going with solid ratings, so a 4 star will do. It was very fun. It has some highs, especially in that second act, that were some of the best in recent comic movies, but I just felt it played it too safe throughout, and it's just left me feeling like, okay, that was cool. I wasn't leaving the theatre being like, oh, I loved it. It was a good movie, in my opinion. Now, I think it's pretty obvious which one I preferred, and I'm not going to leave you all in suspense. It was Superman. I had a constant smile on my face throughout, and I came out of that movie wanting more immediately. I'm very excited for Supergirl. Also, loved the cameo in the movie. A great way to introduce her to an audience that maybe aren't as familiar. I'm also just happy we have a DC movie that is getting so much love right now. Just glad to see Superman get a lot of love for once. Fantastic Four succeeded in a lot of areas itself. I do think it was a very fun and, you know, maybe just as fun as Superman was in parts. But it was a very solid entry, and the MCU sorely needed some hits, and with this and Thunderbolts, they're on the right track. So there you have it, 2 great movies that you should check out however and whenever you can. Now I want to know which one you preferred and what superhero movies you're excited to see in the future, any of the upcomings for DC or Marvel. Let me know in the comments, like and subscribe while you're there, and I'll see you in the next one.